I woke up dazzled by sunlight. It was 1 p.m. according to my cell phone, which was squeezing the last drops of charge of its battery. This cell phone has an amazing battery. Strangely enough, my body didn't ache, my head felt clearer, and all in all, it was the beginning of a good day. After waving my arms pretending to do early exercises, I sprang out of the cabin and headed to the washstands. Yeah, I slept through breakfast, but we'll be served lunch soon, so I shouldn't worry that I'll have to stay hungry like I did yesterday. Who is this? Along the way, I met a pioneer whose face somehow looked strangely familiar. He ain't got no eyes, just like me. But I was going so fast I couldn't see him, and when I turned around, he was already gone around the corner. There was nobody near the washstands. Everybody's probably busy with Olga's tasks and God knows what else. I quickly brushed my teeth, washed my face, and was already going to leave when I suddenly heard the sound of water flowing from the opposite tap. The pioneer leaned against a washstand over there. I couldn't see his face, but judging by his figure, he looked like the one I saw a couple of minutes ago. How are you doing? The sun's so bright today. I look up into the sky, shielding my eyes with my palm. Yeah, nothing special. It wasn't easy to get a better look at the pioneer, given the way he stood. The bright sunlight that reflected from the water and the shining metal surfaces of the washstand heavily obscured his face, and I wasn't able to distinguish any single feature. The camp leader is angry today, so angry. His voice sounded painfully familiar too. I wonder who it could be. Well, she's always like that. Well, you'd know better, yeah. I tried to remember if I've ever heard this voice or seen this pioneer before. Well, see ya. He turned the water off and quickly marched towards the forest path. For a second I thought of following him, stopping him, but I quickly fought it off as I decided that it's not worth spoiling such a great morning with suspicious and burdensome speculations. Nature was glowing with the bright light of life. Lush treetops were rhythmically swaying in the wind, whispering to each other. The breeze gently stroked the high emerald grass. Birds were cooling in the shade, escaping the midday heat. The woods and fields, stretching beneath the horizon, were dissolved into warm sunlight. I don't know which month it is now, but it looks like midsummer. I distinctly remember the summer vacations of my childhood and youth, times for fun and leisure and carefree joy. Childhood games, how many there were. I wouldn't say no to playing war games or hide-and-seek now, or swinging on a bungee, or maybe building a sandcastle and inhabiting it with toy soldiers, ready to defend their master to the last drop of their plastic blood. Ellipses. I went to the square and sat on the bench, waiting for lunch. It looked like there wasn't much time left before it. From time to time, pioneers passed by me, sometimes alone, sometimes in pairs or groups of 3. But always someone I didn't know. Alyssa, Liana, Lena, or Slavia were nowhere to be seen. Thoughts about the meaninglessness of existence were circling in my brain, but this didn't worry me on such a beautiful day. Just think about it. Who could think of the grieving for this life lived in vain or lost early while basking in the rays of such a friendly sun? Certainly not me. I looked upon Genda. He was meditating as always. Now he definitely never gets any unnecessary doubts. Remember my first hours in this camp and the day before, the anguish, the anxiety, and the fear? That all seems so far away now, although so little time has passed. Will I get out of here or not? It didn't concern me as much as before. Maybe I'm already dead. This is the last stop before getting off the train. What are you thinking about? I looked up and saw the pioneer I'd seen before. I couldn't see his face again and the sun was shining in my eyes. You know, life. It seemed he would sit down next to me, but the pioneer stayed in the same place, only half turned, with completely killed any hope of seeing his face. Listen, have we met earlier? I don't think I remember you. Well, let's say that you know who I am. But I don't. I know who you are. I laughed sincerely. Here, you don't. He answered short. I see. Honestly, it's not like I didn't want to talk, I just didn't know what to talk about. And my soul was so calm that it didn't bother me. Your first time here? He asked a question, but his tone implied he was only expecting a confirmation. Yeah, and you? Me? He paused for a few seconds. Nah, it's not my first time here. One might say that I visited this camp every year since my early childhood. Such an answer got me interested. Well, and what was it like before? It was always the same. Olga being the camp leader, all the same pioneers around, all the same lineups at the morning, and all these wicked accidents. For a moment I thought it was me speaking, not him. Interesting. It's just that with every new, he hesitated, year, more and more interesting things happen, and one gets to understand better what's going on. What are you talking about? This conversation positively triggered my curiosity. It's a pity that I can't distinguish the face of this pioneer at all. Well, every session in the pioneer camp reminds of the previous one, he said calmly. Probably. This is my first. It shows. The pioneer grinned. But it looks like it won't be the last. Well, it's fun here and all, but you know how they say there's no place like home, but you still have to go back there. Have to get back there. Now I was absolutely sure that this guy was hiding something from me. To be precise, he stood out too much from the camp's usual ordinariness and was too different from the local inhabitants. What do you mean? Think I'm stuck here forever or something? I said, enunciating every word. The pioneer had no time to answer as the lunch bell sounded. No! I wonder what's going on. I turned my head towards the loudspeaker, and by the time I looked back, the guy was already gone. Thousands of theories and speculations instantly appeared in my mind, but I stopped myself, remembering all the apparent normality of this camp. After all, nothing supernatural has happened in these 5 days. Except for being here. Moreover, everything here seemed too natural, sometimes even boring. Maybe this pioneer didn't mean anything by that, and I just misunderstood him. Thinking that, I went to the canteen, intended to feast. Sometimes it seemed to me that lunch here is akin to the crowds around the soup kitchen during a famine. Pioneers were running around and pushing each other, trying to crawl through for the first meal and take the most comfortable table. I was calmly standing, impatiently waiting for the cook to get me my assigned food rations. Okrashaka is a traditional Russian cold soup. For lunch today, we had okrashaka, a traditional Russian cold soup, which I didn't really like, and cutlets with potatoes. I sat in the corner and mentally rejoiced that I would be able to eat in peace. My table was the farthest from the kitchen. I could reasonably hope that the pioneers who were looking for a free place wouldn't reach it, or would reach it last. However, when I moved on to the main course, Slavia, Shurik, and Electronic appeared from the crowd. The blonde squad. Can we? I had nothing against their company. Of course. Lunch was going surprisingly calmly. Even Electronic wasn't jabbering as he usually does. I finally finished the meal, sprawling in my chair and satisfied, clicked my tongue. Listen, do you know this pioneer? I saw him today. You know, he's so... I suddenly realized that I don't know how to describe him. Well, about my height, same constitution. Hard to say from such a description, Savia smiled. Well, we have half a camp of such guys, if it comes to that. All in all, they were right. Why are you asking? It's just that I met him today, and it seemed like I haven't seen him here before. Look in the canteen. I don't think he'll miss lunch. Why didn't I think of that? That's it. Okay, guys, enjoy your meal. I got up and started slowly walking along the rows of tables. Lena and Xenia are sitting over there. I gave them a friendly smile. Alyssa and Ilyana are laughing and arguing about something. Olga surrounded by pioneers. Good thing she didn't notice me. There are hardly any free seats, but the guy from this morning is nowhere to be seen. The situation is getting more and more interesting. Looks like I won't find him here. Maybe he already had lunch. I headed to the exit. It was so hot outside that it seemed like you would instantly melt after coming out of the shade. I suddenly felt like sleeping. I yawned and headed to the camp leader's cabin in order to follow a domestic interruption of the Archimedes principle. What a fucking nerd. In the end, Olga is unlikely to return anytime soon. At least I think so. And I'll definitely have a couple hours to rest. Anyways, I really don't expect any options to arise, especially in this heat. The heavenly coolness in the cabin became my salvation. I took my clothes off and jumped into bed. Crickets were lazily chirping outside. The wind was shaking the curtains on the window, and I sank into a dream. Ellipses. It's gonna be a spooky dream. Knocking on the door woke me up. The knocks were soft but insistent. I reluctantly got up and went to open it. Strangely, there was nobody on the doorstep. I rubbed my eyes and stepped out to look around. All the same, no one around. A dream, maybe? It was already 4 o'clock. I felt jaded. I probably shouldn't have slept in the afternoon. After all, I knew that I knew what was going to happen. I put on my boots, left the cabin, and locked the door. But where shall I go? All in all, there's not much time till dinner. A sudden thought came to me that it would be nice to refresh myself, so I went towards the beach. The sun has passed the midday mark a while ago. It gets dark early here in the south. I squinted and looked up at the flaming disk. Who was that just now? I flinched. The same mysterious guy was standing in front of me, and once again his face was hard to see due to the bright light. For a moment the sun blinded me so I could not see anything besides the faint contour of objects. You stalking me? Nope, I was just passing by. He answered calmly. Then you should know better. So you haven't seen anyone? Correct. What the fuck? I rubbed my eyes, but it did not help. Why didn't I see you at lunch? I asked bluntly. I wasn't hungry. He laughed. What the fuck? I blinked a few times and my vision came back, but the pioneer had miraculously disappeared once again. What the hell's going on here? Now I was absolutely sure that there was something strange about that guy. He must be directly related to everything happening around here. I'll have to find out. But for starters, it's good to confirm that I am not mistaken, and that he is not just a local pioneer. It was quite crowded at the beach, clearly. Looked like everyone from camp was here. Well, no wonder, it's so hot outside. Olga was standing just a bit further apart from everyone, keeping an eye on her army of pioneers. As soon as I thought that coming here might not have been the best idea, she noticed me. Hey, Simeon. You weren't at lineup, and in general, you've just been lounging around all day. I did not know how to answer. Just how are you planning on becoming a proper pioneer? She continued more softly. Olga, in the camp, is there a pioneer who looks a lot like me? She looked surprised. Maybe, I don't know. Why do you ask? Oh, I'm just curious. Well, we have a lot of boys here. Alright, never mind. Someone's yell came from the riverside and Olga rushed in its direction. Well, looks like I'll be spared a lecture. I lowered myself onto the sand and stared at the pioneers playing in the water. After a few minutes of sitting here, Ulyana approached me. Why so sad? I'm not sad. Well, why are you sitting here all alone? Just thinking. About what? I decided to spare her my story about the mysterious pioneer. Well, imagine that you're chatting with a weird person, and you have to figure out what exactly is so weird about them. Simple, I would just ask them. She laughed. Too simple. But he won't answer. How do you know? Have you tried asking? No, but it's obvious. Ulyana did not answer. She sat down next to me and let out a tired sigh. I'm all swimmed out. And what if they know something, but won't tell you? Make them. But how? For a bit longer we sat together talking about random things, and then I got up and said goodbye and went away. Time to find the mysterious stranger and get all the answers. Yes, please. The first place to visit was the bus stop. After all, this is where it all began. The road was empty as always. Only small dust tornadoes were occasionally visible on it. I was ready to turn around and go back to camp, but then I heard someone whisper, "Don't trust him." Someone was hiding behind the monument. A pioneer was sitting there with his back to me. And once again the voice seemed strangely familiar. Who are you? I took a few steps toward him. Stop! Don't come any closer! For some reason I froze in my tracks. For somewhere deep inside an assurance came to me and I understood that I shouldn't argue with him. Alright, I'll stay here. Have you seen him? Talked to him? He asked nervously. Who are you even talking about? He was dressed in a pioneer uniform. You know who. And I definitely did know. He was talking about the weird pioneer I saw earlier. Yes? I answered after a few moments of silence. What did he tell you? The pioneer asked in a pleading tone. Nothing, really. Did he give you advice? Did he tell you what to do? Threaten you? No, nothing like that. Of course, he seemed pretty weird, but nothing more than that. Remember, he may not be alone. Or more likely, he is alone. But you may meet many pioneers who look like him. And what about you? Who are you? Who are you hiding from? You will understand in time. Just remember, the most important thing is to find the exit. All of a sudden, a strong gust of wind came through, rippling leaves from the trees and throwing an old paper bag in my face. Shielding myself, I averted my eyes. When I looked back at the monument, the pioneer was already gone. At that moment, I was overwhelmed by fear. Real, almost tangible fear. I remember being scared during my first hours at this camp. But back then, everything around me seemed kind of friendly. Now, Sovanak revealed its fangs, getting ready to eat me. And ahead, the unknown. My body was covered in goosebumps. My throat was dry and my hands were shaking. I tried to ignore it all and headed back to camp. It was already dinner time, but I had no desire to go to the canteen. After meeting the second mysterious pioneer, just thinking about the locals made me, if not afraid, then at least creeped out. I don't even know who or what they all are. And even though nothing had happened yet, it does not mean I can trust them.